Welcome to the best pentatonic masterclass on the internet. This lesson is going to make you realize you don't know shit about the pentatonic scale. The content in this video, by the way, is not something that can be absorbed in one day or even a week. This video is going to be thorough as fuck, and you'll need to revisit on a regular basis in order to get the most out of it. I'll be taking you through 6 different levels of pentatonic practice throughout this lesson, and most of you will struggle to get past level 1. The topics we'll be covering go as follows. Level 1, the major and minor pentatonic shapes. In level 2, we'll be looking at all 5 shapes. Level 3, every shape in all 12 keys. Level 4, improvising all over the fretboard using the shapes. Level 5, same position, different pentatonic shape. Level 6, chain exercises. And once we go through all the levels, I will explain to you why in the fuck I name the pentatonic shapes what I do, because I know a lot of people get confused about that. So with all that being said, let's get started. Enter level 1. All right, for this first level, we're just gonna go over the minor and major pentatonic shapes. So this would be G minor pentatonic. I imagine most of you guys watching probably already know that. Next up, we have B flat major pentatonic. It's also worth noting that these two shapes are in the same key, but we'll talk more about that stuff later. And this is what B flat major pentatonic looks like. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but when I started playing these shapes, I actually started with an upstroke. The reason I'm starting with an upstroke is because assuming that you're alternate picking, this is gonna set you up to be in a position to easily play the next string. Check out the picking direction here. I'm already in position to play the A string. So at higher speeds, you'll actually be able to play a lot faster, and like higher tempos, you'll be able to play a lot faster if you start with an upstroke, assuming that you're going this direction. Now it changes when you're going this direction. It's actually better to start with a downstroke, because that means my second picking direction is an upstroke, which moves me closer to the B string, right? And so on. And that's the direction that I'm going in, so I ought to set myself up for the next string. This is actually called inside picking. So in summary, if you're only picking 2 notes per string and you're ascending, it's better to start with an upstroke, and if you're descending, it's better to start with a downstroke. So now that we've covered the minor and the major pentatonic shapes and the best way to pick them, let's move on to the rest of the shapes. Enter level 2. All right, so we're gonna look at the rest of the pentatonic shapes, but we're gonna stay within the key of B flat. All right, so the next pentatonic shape that we have is C Dorian pentatonic, and a little bit later at the end of the lesson, I'll explain the names behind these. They're informal names that I'm assigning to them right now, but I'll explain that later. So this is the Dorian pentatonic shape. 2, 3, 4. Next, we have D Phrygian pentatonic within the key of B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our final shape is F Mixolydian pentatonic. And that's it. All right, so we have now covered all 5 pentatonic shapes. Now, I know most of you are familiar with the minor pentatonic shape. Some of you are probably even familiar with the major pentatonic shape. Gold star for you! But the Dorian, Phrygian, and Mixolydian pentatonic shapes are probably less familiar. Also remember, these names are informal. The objective with level 2 here is to learn the rest of the shapes and then be as comfortable with them as you are with the minor or maybe even major pentatonic shapes, which means that we have to practice them. All right, so to practice each pentatonic shape, what I would do is come to the randomscalemachine.com, and this is gonna give you a random key. So the first key that we have here is B flat. Next thing you need to do is pick a pentatonic shape that you're least comfortable with. So that could be the Dorian pentatonic shape, the Phrygian pentatonic shape, whatever. All right. For this example, I'm going to go with the Dorian pentatonic shape, which means that I'm actually going to play C Dorian for this key, right? Because I'm in the key of B flat. I'm treating this as a major key, not a minor key, which means I'm in the key of B flat major. And I go up a major second from that note, which is a C, and that's where you play C Dorian pentatonic, all right? If you don't understand what I'm talking about, for this example, just go a major second above each root, all right? If you wanted to play the Phrygian pentatonic shapes instead, then you would go up a major third from each root, right? So if I'm playing B, this would be a major second, B flat to C, major third is B flat to D. If you wanted to play the Mixolydian pentatonic shapes, then you go up a fifth from the root. So that's B to F. Sorry, B flat to F. All right? And then if you wanted to play the minor pentatonic shapes, which I doubt that's the case because everybody is already very comfortable with that shape, you would go up a major sixth or down a minor third. So B flat to G, B flat to G, down a minor third. All right? Anyway, I'm going up a major second because I'm playing the Dorian shapes. Let's go with a tempo that we're comfortable. I'll go with 120, and I'm going to go through all 12 keys, and I'm going to time how long it takes to do this. And this is something that we write down, right? Because if we're going to do this every day, we need to track our progress to see how we improve over time. So 120 on the metronome, starting the stopwatch now, and going through the key of B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, C, Dorian. Whoops. If you mess up, just keep going until you get it right. So C sharp Dorian. That was about 120 at a tempo of 120. All right, so that would be how I would focus on practicing each shape. So you go through, pick whatever pentatonic shape is giving you the most trouble, and drill it until it stops giving you trouble. It really is that simple. It's just none of you motherfuckers will actually do that because you don't really care. I told you you would struggle with level 1. If you don't know the major pentatonic shape as well as you know the minor pentatonic shape, you are on level 1, my friend. So now that we've looked at all 5 pentatonic shapes, let's move on and start playing all of these pentatonic shapes in all 12 keys. Enter level 3. So for level 3, we're gonna play all the pentatonic shapes in all 12 keys. The reason that we're doing this is because a lot of intermediate level guitar players struggle to connect the pentatonic shapes when they're playing. So if you do what I'm about to show you, you'll be able to play pentatonic shapes anywhere on the fretboard and in any key. So for practice, once again, I am using the random scale machine. Looks like my first key is G flat. So I'm gonna go through all of the pentatonic shapes within that key. I'll also say each pentatonic shape as I'm going through it. I'll say the name of it. And I've set the metronome to 125 this time because this is gonna take a lot longer to go through. So I'm speeding up the tempo so we can get through it a little bit quicker. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So my first pentatonic shape is gonna be G flat major pentatonic. Then we have A flat Dorian pentatonic, B flat Phrygian pentatonic, then we have D flat Mixolydian pentatonic. Sorry, fucking open string threw me off. E flat minor pentatonic, and then we complete the octave with G flat major pentatonic. And by the way, when we're going through and completing the octave, we want to make sure that we're starting on a shape that doesn't have open strings in it because it's just annoying, all right? So our next key is C. So I'm going to start with a shape that doesn't have open strings, and I'm actually going to descend this time, and I'm going to start with the G Mixolydian pentatonic shape. we've just completed the key of C. Now we're going to be flat with key of B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, next key is A flat, so F minor pentatonic is our first one. Cool. Next, we've got the key of F major. Start with G joint pentatonic. Cool. All right, then we've got D major pentatonic. B. Whoops. And that was the completing the octave. Next we have E flat. 2, 3, 4. Fuck. Yeah, end it there, nice on the root. Next we have the key of E. Start with F sharp Dorian pentatonic. Cool. Now we have D flat. G, easy key. And lastly, we've got the key of A. Whoops. All right, so that was 6.5 minutes. I'm gonna turn the metronome off now. And that is basically what you would do for level 3. You go through, you do exactly what I just did, and you use the randomizer, because if you're just going through the circle of fifths, it's too predictable. You memorize the order. You start with the key of C, then you go to the key of G, then the key of D. That you're just memorizing the order, which is why I like the randomizer. All right? So you go through, you play all of the keys, you go through all the keys, play all the pentatonic shapes, you time how long it takes you to do so. Next, you fucking write it down, and then you repeat the next day, all right? And you do this until you can see each pentatonic shape on the fretboard so well that you can see it as well as you can see the normal minor pentatonic shape. Now let's move on to level 4. Enter level 4. So we've learned the shapes all over the fretboard. Gold start for you. But just knowing how to play the shapes in time with a metronome is not the same as actually using them in a musical context. When we think about what the goal really is here, it's not to just learn pentatonic shapes and play them in time with a metronome our entire life. We want to be able to take those shapes and actually create music with them. So I'm going to be improvising using these pentatonic shapes in 3 different keys over 3 different backing tracks. All of these tracks are from my sexy as fuck backing track pack, which is available for $1. So if you can spare $1, I would recommend you download that track pack, and then you will have all these tracks that I'm using in this video to practice your pentatonic shapes with. There will also be tabs on the screen for each of the solos I'm going to play, so feel free to steal some of my ideas. And that's it for level 4. So when can you move on from this level? With improvisation, it's hard to know when you can really move on because there's no definitive end to it. So I recommend you move on from level 4 when you can play confidently in any of those keys anywhere on the fretboard. Enter level 5. So for level 5, we're going to stay in one position on the fretboard, but we're going to go through all 12 keys. So this is different from level 3 because with level 3, we were going through all 12 keys, but we were changing positions. In level 5, we're going to stay in the same position, but still go through all 12 keys. So once again, I have the random scale machine open. I have a stopwatch and a metronome. I've set the metronome for 130 BPM. And what I'm going to do is hang out in the 7th position here, and I'm going to go through all 12 keys. For each of those keys, I am going to play the pentatonic shape that is closest or within the 7th position. So not all of the keys will have a pentatonic shape that's in the 7th position. It might start in the 6th position or the 8th position, but I'm going to be hanging out as close to the 7th position as I can. All right? Now, when I say 7th position, let's define that. I mean, basically 7th to 10th fret. Although sometimes we may go lower to the 6th fret, sometimes we may go higher to the 11th fret, all right? But for the most part, I'm hanging out in the 7th position here. So I'm gonna set the metronome here, and I'm gonna see how long it takes me to go through each of the 12 keys. And I'm gonna start one string at a time. So I'll explain why I'm doing this a little bit later after I finish this first cycle here. But let's just get started so I can show you what this exercise consists of. All right, so we've got A. Let's set the metronome. Now let's set the stopwatch. And first key is A. All right, so that was B Dorian, right? Because this is a major key. E major looks like this. Okay, B. Fuck. That's right in the 7th position. That was nice. B flat. G. C. Okay, F. Then we've got D. A flat. Let's keep it clean for the most part. G flat. And do that again. Why is this in there? Then we've got D flat. Last key is E flat. All right, so stop. That's 124. Okay, so that was 124 at 130, going through the shapes starting on the E string. So next, I'm going to start on the A string. And the reason that I'm going to do this is because when you're improvising, you don't have the luxury of always starting on the E string. Sometimes you have to start on the A string or the G string. Basically, you need to be able to play these shapes, or at least I would recommend you know how to play these shapes starting from anywhere within the shape, not just the E strings. Okay, so I'm going to reset the stopwatch and I'm going to go through and play all these shapes using the A string now. All right, so let's get started. So the first one's G flat. 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'll end on the key notes. I'll end on the fucking. Okay, let me reset this. I'm gonna fucking end on G flat. All right, the root, to get that nice resolve sound. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. B flat. D. You don't have to end on the root like I am. 3, 4. Sloppy. It's hard to talk and do this. Stop. 118. God damn, it is so hard to do this and talk to you guys at the same time because it's two different things. I'm splitting my focus here. I'm trying to explain things to you, but luckily you will be seeing the shapes that I'm playing on the screen, so I don't have to talk. All right, next we're going to go through the D string and do the same thing, all right? And again, you don't have to end on the root like I am, but I like that nice resolved sound. And it also is good for your fretboard knowledge if you know where you are and you know where the root is. So once again, reset. A Dorian, or B Dorian is my first pentatonic shape because I'm in the key of A. I'm relating these all back to A major, like these are major keys, okay? All right, set the metronome. Here we go. Fuck. sloppy. We don't want to be too sloppy. Went high that time to end. G flat. Fuck, starting on the D string, right? 123, not bad. We can see times from previous days where I've done this practice routine. So the 123 at 130 on the D string, okay? Let's reset. Starting on the G string now. So the first key is D, which means we're starting in the B minor pentatonic shape. 1, 2, 3. Just wanted to clean that up a little. Starting on the G string now, not the D string. Keep making that mistake. There we go. A little sloppy in the end there. Starting on the wrong string. Ah, fuck it, I'll do it again. Last key. Ah, that was fucking bad. 144. That was 144 at 130. So yeah, not my best time. If we look at my times from yesterday, they're actually better, but that's because I'm on camera. And everybody is better off of camera. Fun fact. True fact. You've probably noticed this. Let's go through and now do the B string. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Fuck, I'm in the wrong spot for the mouse. Sloppy. 3, 4. It didn't end on D flat that time, whatever. 3, 4. That Dorian shape is hard starting on that. Let's get in the zone. That's a little better. 150 was my time. Okay. Which honestly, yeah, not that great. Whoops. Okay, last, we're gonna do the E string, which is not actually the easiest. Looks like I had an easiest time with the A string, but this is very difficult because you have to know where these shapes are in the fret. Like, you have to know when you're looking at the key, when you're in the 7th position, which pentatonic shape is the shape for that key. It's quite difficult. All right, last run through here with the high E string. Put the metronome back on, 130. Go ahead and start with our first one, which is F. Mouse is in the wrong spot. Whatever. Yeah, that ends on the same note. It's weird. Then we got D. All right, that should have been over at 116, but it's over at 126 instead because I kept chasing the root of the key. I'm also going for technical practice here. 130 to play what I'm playing is, like, I'm playing 16th notes at 130. It is not completely out of my comfort zone, but it does push me, right? So what's great about this practice routine is it gets you very familiar with which pentatonic shape belongs to which position on the fretboard from which key, right? So we're going one key at a time, one position at a time, and we have to play the pentatonic shape from that key in that position that we're working on. And it helps your fretboard knowledge as well because we're going through each individual string and starting the shape from that string. And we're working technique as well because we're playing at a tempo that is a bit fast for us, right? Not completely comfortable, but within reason, all right? So these are my final times. Didn't take me 2 minutes for any of them, but I still think that these times are kind of shit. Such is life. Maybe I just need to get off the cigarettes. Next level. Enter level 6. So for level 6, we're going to be playing chain exercises. But what's a chain exercise? A chain exercise is where you play a continuous stream of notes at the same rhythmic duration. So it could be quarter notes, 16th notes, triplets, etc. But you don't stop. You go for as long as you can without stopping, and you time how long you can actually go for. So I'm going to go with the key of B flat and demo a chain exercise for you. Most of you guys probably wouldn't even last 30 seconds doing this. It's fucking hard. Most of you guys probably aren't even gonna last 10 seconds when you try that. But if you do last more than 10 seconds, but you're playing at a very slow and easy to tempo, I mean, you have to be challenging yourself for that exercise to really count. So if there's people in the comment section saying that they were able to do that for 10 minutes, let me ask you, what was the tempo and what was the subdivision of rhythm? I was playing at 110 and I was playing 16th notes. Honestly, when I started filming that, I thought it would be way easier than it was, but clearly I need to practice that more. So go ahead and add that to your practice routine. There's no need to make things too complicated. Just do one key a day. And if you do that every day for a month, you will become a lot better at the pentatonic shapes. Okay, now let's move on to the last part of the video where I explain why I'm naming the shapes the way I name them. So here's why I've chosen the names that I have. Each pentatonic shape is really just a skeleton of the corresponding mode. For example, if we look at the G minor scale, the G minor pentatonic scale has most of those notes. We're just missing the A and the E flat, which forms a tritone. So by omitting those two notes, we omit the tritone. That's not so important, really. I mean, it's cool information, I guess. But that's why I'm naming this shape the minor pentatonic scale, which is actually not unique to me. It's not a special name I gave to it. That's just the fucking name of it. All right, so moving on, if we look at the same key, if we're going to stay in the same key, we'll look at B flat major. That scale, right? Well, the major pentatonic shape is just a fucking skeleton of it. We're just leaving out these notes, E flat and A. Once again, it's the tritone, right? So that's called the major pentatonic scale. So my logic is, why the fuck are we not naming this the Dorian pentatonic scale? Because it comes from the Dorian mode. Check this out. This is the Dorian scale. The Dorian pentatonic scale, we're omitting this E flat and this A, which forms a tritone. Motherfucker. That's the fucking C Dorian pentatonic scale, right? That's why I want to name it the Dorian pentatonic scale. It's an informal name, and some people are going to say, well, you can't name it that. Because if you name it that, well, that implies a Dorian sound. So we would have to have the major 13, which is this note, also known as the major 6. That is a signature note of Dorian. And we would also have to have the minor 3rd, right? C is our root here. So going up from C, our minor 3rd is E flat, right? But we don't have that note in the shape that I'm referring to. Well, this shape that everybody fucking learns this shape. Okay? They don't learn this shape. Or whatever the Dorian pentatonic shape would be if we were sticking to the tonality of the Dorian mode, right? If we're following the specific notes that make Dorian Dorian, well, we would have to have that A in there, and we would have to have the E flat, because that's a minor 3rd and a major 6th, which is what makes Dorian unique, right? Every other note in that scale is natural. But the pentatonic scales are only 5 notes. So, which notes are we leaving out? Well, that's a good question. I guess maybe the 4. So I just went straight to the 5, and then we have the 6, and then we complete the octave. So a true Dorian sound pentatonic shape might look like this. Okay, and it actually does sound kind of cool playing it, but nobody learns that specific shape, right? Nowhere will you find that on the internet except for here, right? And the only reason I'm talking about it is because I know that there are going to be a bunch of bitches in the comment section that are saying, well, you can't name the pentatonic shapes like that. Guess what, motherfucker? Actually, I can. And you know what? These are all the pentatonic shapes that are taught. These are the shapes that everybody knows and everybody learns when they fucking watch a pentatonic lesson, right? So I, for convenience, am going to stick to naming the pentatonic shapes after the mode in which they come from. They're really just skeletons of that mode because they don't have all the parts, right? They're missing some stuff. They're missing the meat. So that is why I named the pentatonic shapes the way I do. So to recap this pentatonic masterclass, in level 1, which I hope was a review for most of you, you learned the major and minor pentatonic shapes. In level 2, you learned the rest of the shapes. In level 3, you started practicing those shapes and getting familiar with them in all 12 keys. In level 4, you started using those shapes in an improvisational context. You made some music! At level 5, we stayed in the same position but played different pentatonic shapes and went through all 12 keys and all 6 strings. Then in level 6, we looked at the chain exercise. This is where we played a continuous string of notes without stopping to a fixed tempo, and did so for as long as we could. And lastly, I told you why I assigned those informal names to each pentatonic shape. I hope you found this lesson useful. 52-week guitar player is closed for enrollment until mid-June. Now is a super early time to get on the waiting list too, since we just closed on March 31st. Click the link in the description for more info. Now just leave!